that's not you. Right now.
Okay, how is this? Is this working? Yes.
Sit back and just relax.
Okay, he's asking me to relax as I'm trying to conduct a meeting. That's not so easy. Anyway, my name is Theda Ellis, and I'm here as Secretary of the Board to call this annual meeting together. Before we call the meeting to order, I'd like to point to our overheads, which aren't quite up yet, but to announce that we're on Zoom and in person. And so if anyone's going to be needing an alibi for 12 o'clock today, you're on tape, folks, and we're recording it as well. That's supposed to be funny. That's supposed to be part of the joy. Secondly, this is a business meeting, so members will be voting on some proposals. So if you're a member and you haven't yet checked in, please go to the back of the room and check in and get your ballots. And for those of you on Zoom, we're noting who you are, and you will also have the opportunity to vote. As a board member, I think I speak for us all when I say that it's really a great pleasure to call this meeting here today, even better than last year, because today I feel the joy of knowing that we have come together as a community, that we have a new settled minister. We've been in our building for a year. We have experience. And most of all, I look around and I see new names and new faces and new members joining us in this spiritual journey. So welcome today. Okay, it's time to call a quorum. Do we know yet, Anne? Do we know yet? Okay. Well, let's, how about a little laughter yoga right now?
Okay. Okay, so this is ballot laughter. All right, so see, it already started. So you have your ballot, right? And we're gonna laugh. We're gonna write on it, and then you're gonna wave it. Thank you, Vince. That was great. We're gonna wave it over your head. Okay. So on 3, we'll laugh as we do all of the following. 1, 2, 3. Fill out your ballot. And wave it over your head. Very good, very good. Yay! Thank you. And now we just have wait. Yeah.
That's terrific. 58 people here today. Our quorum consists of 25% of membership, which is 37 people to attend. So that we have 58 people is wonderful news. Thank you. And with this, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our president, Mr. Tom Sawyer.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce your slate of nominees, and I'll begin with thanking the nominating committee, who does very diligent work to try to find suckers. I mean, people to take board positions. That's my attempt at humor, so forgive me. So let me introduce Pi Irwin and Ann Tatum and Mary Nell, if you would stand. Yeah. They have quite a challenge in putting together a slate of leadership for our church, so thank you for your work. Let me begin by introducing the nominee for the president of the board, Erin Eichelberger. Would you put up her slide, please? Yeah. So Erin Eichelberger is the nominee for board president. Nominee for Vice President, Karen White. Sally Wistron, who is our current treasurer, is continuing up for nominee for another year in fulfilling Ann Marshall's term. So, Sally. And Jess Collins is nominated for, is she here? Yes, there she is, yes. is nominated for a trustee position. Now, in addition to the slate of board members, Connie Casebolt is also nominated to the Endowment Committee. And I think I saw her on Zoom, so. And then Summer Addy is nominated for the Nominating Committee. So that is our current slate of officers to be voted on today. Okay, and Theta, if you want to take on the vote here.
Do I have a motion to accept the slate as offered? So moved. And a second? Okay, any discussion? Okay. Please make your comment.
2.
I think this is a fantastic slate and fantastic opportunity for those of us who have been around for many years and are letting go. I step off the board in a few days. And I think that with Aaron, Karen, Jess, Summer, Connie, we are making a generational shift here, and I'm very excited about this. As a member since 1988 of this congregation, I think it's a great opportunity for us, and I heartily endorse your candidacy, which will soon be voted on. So thank you for your willingness to serve, all of you.
Other comments? Okay, each of you received 2 ballots. Please take out your ballot for the slate of nominations. And Chuck and Sally will be passing the bowls for you to vote. And voting will be announced at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I've launched the poll for those on the Zoom. You should be getting your poll question now on this slate of leaders. If you have any difficulty with your voting, it looks like everybody should be able to vote. If you have any difficulty, you can place something in the chat or raise your hand and wave it at me, and I will assist you to collect your vote. For those that weren't here earlier, if there are 2 people in your household, you should get 2 questions. The first question would be for the first person in the household. The second question would be for the second person in the household if you're voting off of the same computer. If you have, there's also an answer on that second question to say, I don't have a second person. You can just skip that question.
Who's to say who's the first person and who's the
Hold on
second?
just a second, Steve. I can't hear you. Give me a second. Okay, Steve, I see you talking.
I said, who's to say who's the first person and who's the second?
It doesn't matter. This is an anonymous polling, so just choose.
That was humor.
Oh. Okay, it looks like everyone's voted, so I'm going to end the poll.
So I hope everybody's had an opportunity to vote. While we're counting the vote, let me comment very briefly. This time I want to introduce Reverend Matthew, who's going to bring to us some thinking that he and others have been doing on the structure and processes as we grow. As you know, we are no longer a small band of families. We are a growing congregation, and as such, there's been a growing need to put together a variety of processes and structures to reflect the entire congregation. So I'll let him talk about what he's put together.
Alex, can you cue up the first? So over the last 6 months, I have been working alongside our leadership to continue to develop an org chart. Now, normally that means an organizational chart, and on one hand, it does mean that for us, and on the other hand, congregations are organisms. They're living, breathing things, and they have certain qualities that all living, breathing things have. They have permeable tissues, they're dynamic, and they need to have ways to move. They grow. And so taking all of that into account, and then speaking individually with board members, then going into the council, then going back to board members, then back to the council, talking with staff, we began to build what an org chart might be, an organism and an organizational chart for us. And it begins with where we're at today. On our bylaws, on paper, we have two groups. We have a board of directors and we have a council. And the board of directors, we have a process for selecting those 7 people. The council, however, is made up of the leaders of our different committees and teams and task force. And our bylaws say that twice a year the council will meet. Well, we have done that this year. We met once in January and then later in the spring. And in both times, we began to explore what council might develop into. But today, council has largely not been meeting over the last couple of years. So if we go to the next slide, thank you. The board of directors focus in our bylaws, our structure is to focus on policy and budget. And the words structure and architecture have emerged. When we started talking about council and rejuvenating and rebuilding that, programs, of course, is the orientation, but then ministry and geography started to emerge. And so while both of these are very important parts of our church structure, one isn't really developed yet, but as we imagine what it might be, we're imagining that it has a sense of exploration in it. Whereas the board is really clear about what our structure is, what our architecture is, the council is more exploratory. And in fact, we'll be incorporating leadership development, socializing, and as we'll see, some different ways for us to address our mission. If you go to the next slide, please. What we're suggesting in the future is that our buildings and grounds and our finance teams, which in the past have largely been a part of the board directors, they meet and interface there, is that there's more of a direct communication with an emerging council. And we're suggesting to do this because these are the actual resources that our committees, teams, and task forces need to actually hold programs. And so having direct communication with buildings and grounds, having direct communication with finance is a way for us to smooth this out. And so this is what we like to see starting to develop in the coming year. Next slide, please. But everything that we do comes back to our mission statement: engage, love, transform. And so we wanted to recognize that in our council, there are different orientations, different groupings of our committees and our teams and our task forces. And that we actually, in our bylaws, we group these already, but we're talking about regrouping them to orient specifically toward the mission statement. And thank you. You're right on target here. I appreciate that. This is really more of what we're talking about. That orange circle in the center is the council, and the overlap right in the center is where we meet. But this shows that there's a dynamic and permeable relationship among all of the different parts of our mission statement. If you go to the next one. So engage, we're talking about membership there, welcoming, hospitality, and what this year we have called in a task force, the engagement review process. And in the conversations, this is largely about bringing some person, individuals, into the congregation. But we also started to learn it has more of a cycle, and we'll come back to that in a second. The second area is more about groups that begin to integrate people and share caring and love within the congregation. And what we have identified then is that there's actually a variety of small groups that are really significant to us experiencing this. There are immediate small groups like Choya Chow Time. Those happen one night. People come in a small group, 6 to 12 people, and then they disappear. And yet they're a great way for us to really engage more than one person and begin to build the interior structure of our congregation. Time-limited small groups are no longer than 6 months. And the congregation has had a variety of those in the past. And what we want to do is this next year, teach anyone who wants to share how to lead and facilitate a small group. We actually want to try to make them self-replicating so that you'll experience a small group, you'll say, hey, I want to do something, and then you'll have the skills to begin to continue to replicate that. And finally, we have ongoing small groups. The example I have up here is the Caring Heart Circles and the men's group. What we've learned about those is that we need variety. You can't just have a single Caring Hearts group. It doesn't function well. We need multiple versions of that. And so any group that's ongoing, that has not time limited in any way, we need to have a variety to allow people to experience those in different ways. And finally, there's transform. And this is, some of it lies outside that orange circle, outside our congregation. And here we have Contigo. We have our school partnerships. We have beloved conversations among and the Baja Four. So we have active groups in this. This is the least developed, and in fact, isn't my goal, my personal goal for us this coming year. It's the next year. So this year we studied engage. Next year we'll study love and work on small groups. And then the third year we'll do more with transform. And that's just a way for us to begin pacing ourselves, and then we'll probably start rotating back through. But that rotation is really significant. Wait, before you go on. The rotation's significant. Engage, love, transform isn't just linear. It's cyclical. And what we've realized in all of these conversations is that all of us continue through engage, love, transform, engage, love, transform, engage, love, transform. Those who are joining us via Zoom who are no longer in the state, you are away, you will have different experiences, and when you come back, you will re-engage. And we'll have a variety of ways we need to do that. Welcoming then is more than just, hey, on Sunday morning, it's brand new people. It's people who are returning after a season away. How do we do that? So we'll be learning more about how this is a cycle and that we're continually, each of us, participating in how this continues and grows. Next, please. If you were curious about where staff might be lying in this, they're in the overlap between the board of directors and the council. And what this shows is that we currently have 3 staff members. The furthest star towards board of directors is Aaron, who, and we have to, now we've got to distinguish between different Aarons now, right? So we have Aaron E and Aaron C, who is our congregational administrator. Aaron C participates and comes to board meetings and also comes to council meetings. Then in the middle is Stacy Sosa, who was here today. Stacy is our coordinator of religious exploration. Stacy also goes to board meetings and to council meetings. The last star there represents Chris Tackett. Chris is going to be attending council meetings, but his time isn't best spent going to board meetings. So in some degree, this actually represents some of the geography and relationships that we actually have here. And the final piece I wanted to present, because it's just really a significant finding of this year, is consultants. And so I've highlighted 2 areas there in green. We have had over 10 consultants in the last 2 years. Now, some of these people we pay, and they come in and they give us financial advice. This next week, we have people coming and giving us an audit on the building. Yep, Vince has been part of that team as well. 2 Saturdays ago, we had Janine Gelsinger come from UU Jazz. That's an unpaid consultation. We have people who come from the outside. They give us information. The congregation, the leaders, and the staff, they give us the tools that we need, and then they go away so that we can continue to do the work that we do. And what we found was it's important to recognize the influence and impact that in this geography that's emerging, in this architecture, that consultants have a really significant role. Now, this doesn't yet exist. I want to be clear. From that first saying, this is what we have, it's on paper, we're rebuilding it, I anticipate us getting to this really starting to be fleshed out and all of us understanding it and interacting with it after 3 years. Well, we've come to the end of year 1, so in 2 years, I anticipate this to be a clearer, developing, and useful map for all of us, with the understanding that it will continue to grow and change. We will continue to interact with it, and perhaps in 10 years, it won't even look like this. The significance, though, is that we build an understanding of how our growing congregation functions as a means to actually welcome more people to participate and to grow it. So I want to thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them following our meeting.
Good afternoon. I'm Sally Western. I think all of you know me. Can you hear me? Okay.
Just stand place.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. So your finance committee and your board of trustees have worked very hard over the last several months to create a workable budget for the 23-24 year. I'm happy to report that we have not touched any of the Palabra money as we had thought we would have to for this current year. We did use the $30,692 of the sustainability funds as was approved to be used in the current budget. That, however, was not used until May, just this past month. I'd like to give you some basic information about our current balances as of June 1st. Our checking account is at $45,672, and our savings account is at $309,137. This includes our $65,257 in sustainability and the $87,000 in Palabra money. The current balance on our mortgage is $515. Okay, so I'd like to review the proposed budget with you. I'll ask that you hold any questions until I've completed the presentation. Donations are predicted to be at $45,000. This year, we had over $57,000 so far. And so this is a conservative estimate. Fundraising is expected to be at $10,000. That is a conservative estimate. We had a little over this current year from the March Madness auction. Pledges have come in at a wonderful $190,826. We have taken 10% off of that amount for unfulfilled pledges as a prediction. Again, this is a conservative estimate since it is looking like we will end this year with 95% of our pledges fulfilled. Verizon rental is listed at $15,965. This is what we put in the budget when we weren't sure what it was going to be. We now know it's going to be at least $17,000. Interest income is estimated at $236. Rental income is estimated at $2,500. And the Cromwell or Palabra money is still included at $87,000, leaving a total revenue of $332,444. Next slide, please. Program expenditures totaled $25,990. Salaries will total $198,354.93. And administration costs are $94,796. Oh, I did ask. I'm sorry. I thought I did ask for it. My apologies. Okay. Now we're on maintenance contracts. Total is $21,000, including buildings and grounds, our janitorial service, and security. So this is how it looks on a pie chart, if we could have that slide. Is that helpful for everybody to have the pie charts? Kind of look at it? Okay. So in wrapping up, our total net revenue was $7,696.53. Every year, we transfer $5,000 to reserve, which would make our final net revenue of minus $12,696.53. I'm going to tell you, I left it as a deficit budget. Last year, there was a $30,692 deficit, and we plugged the revenue with sustainability. I chose to show you what it really looks like, and I'm showing it this because I believe we won't need that $12,000. I think we'll have it covered. We have done really, really well as a congregation, and I believe in y'all, and I think y'all believe in this church. So we may very well not fall short by that much, but we might, and if we do, we already have the authority to pull that from the sustainability fund, if need be. Okay. Yesterday, and this is not yesterday, last Sunday, we had a meeting for all the questions that anybody might have about this budget. And you know what? The people that showed up didn't have any questions. So I'm thinking we can just go straight to voting. So I am going to leave it open. If any of you have questions, please feel, yes. Hold on a minute. Matthew is going to bring you a microphone.
Say your name.
Bob Grigsby, could you go over again how much the debt is on the building?
I'm sorry, on the what?
The debt on the building.
On the building. Yes, I can. I can go back to that. Let me look. $444,515. You're welcome. Any other questions? Just a minute. He'll bring you the microphone.
Hi, I'm Claudia Silverman. I'm wondering what Verizon rental is.
What is the Verizon rental?
Okay. What is it? We have a cell tower that is located on our property. Verizon pays us rental for that, for it being on the property. So it's an income that we get every year. And it goes up every year by 3%.
I have a question from the Zoom. John Clark is asking, what is included in administration?
Okay, let me go back and look at that. Okay, I think it's mainly, see if I put that down here. Administration, I don't know if I have that. Yeah, okay, administration costs include accounting cost. We have hired a new accountant that we will be paying a retainer fee, and he is doing wonderful work for us already. Our dues to UUA cost, our mortgage payments, insurance, office supplies, postage, utilities, that's all in administration cost. Is that helpful? Okay. Theta, it's yours.
It's that time again to vote. Do I have a motion to accept the budget as proposed? Chuck? Wait a minute. Okay. Chuck makes a motion. Do I have a second? Don seconds. Any discussion? Okay, I call for the question. Take out your second ballot, please, and Chuck and Sally will be around to collect them. Thank you.
Okay, those on the Zoom, I've launched the poll for the next question. Okay, it looks like I've got everybody's vote. If is anybody still needing to vote? Wave your hand at me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll then.
Everybody's had a chance to vote. While they're counting the vote, I'd like to just make a few comments. I have just a few days left as your board president, and I wanted to express my thank you and my sense of honor at being chosen to be your board president the last few years. The work of the board president is, as you can well imagine, full of ups and downs, challenges, and great satisfaction all at one time. I want you to just for a moment think back to July of 2021. Think back to where we were. When I first stepped in as board president, we were not meeting in this building. We had an interim minister. We had a sizable deficit budget. There were a number of challenges, not the least of which was just getting familiar with all the different things that you need to know in this position. I thank Cong Mtng, who was my mentor, who was the previous board president, who was very helpful in helping me get acquainted with the many challenges that I would be facing. I want to take just a moment to acknowledge that as board president, you can't do this work at all alone. You need a lot of help. And I want to first of all thank the board. If you would put up the slide. Get the slide up here.
Oh, I think this slide may have been before Matthew's. Might be out of sequence.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my fault.
Yeah. Let me ask the board members. I'll name you Pat Moyer, who's I hope on Zoom.
Oh,
Theta Ellis. Theta Ellis, who has been serving as board secretary. She's back counting votes. Sally Wistron, of course, as you know, who's been doing yeoman work as our treasurer. Bob Seifried, who's on Zoom as well. Lee McMealy, who we cannot do without in our many roles here. Chuck Tatum. Thank you. And of course we have Reverend Matthew, who is a non-voting member of the board as well. So I want to first of all thank you for the hard work you've put in over the last few years to make this term a very successful one. Thank you. The work of the board cannot be done without significant input and coordination with the finance committee. As you can see, the budgeting process is a bit of an arduous challenge. And the finance committee, I want to give them special kudos for the hard work that they put in supporting budget recommendations to the board. So let me start by identifying Elena Wyatt. Are you here? Elena, would you She's been a long-term chairperson of that committee and been very, very thoughtful and instrumental in helping us put our budgets together. Pat Moyer, again, serves as our representation from the board to that committee. So I want to thank Pat again for her work in that vein. Ann Marshall, who has started out as our treasurer, but she continued to serve on the finance team until her recent resignation from that committee. Bob Bowling, who for many of the past 2 years served on that committee until his untimely death last fall. So thank you, Bob. And I want to, Marie Nibel, who, and thank you for your willingness to serve in that capacity. None of this, of course, could be done without our administrator, Erin Chadwell. So I want her, I wish she was here to recognize her, but her work with the board and with the finance committee is incredibly challenging and also incredibly important to the success of this church. So in closing, I would just say that we have much to be joyful about. This last 2 years, we've seen dramatic change. We have a new minister. We have sources that we have a staff that's the best there is. We have programs that are emerging that will help us fulfill our values. Yes, we've come a long way, and mainly I want to thank you for your support.
I'd just like to add that it's been an extraordinary experience to work under Tom's guidance over the last 2 years. I hadn't planned to say anything, but I just think we all really, this church has been very lucky. I've been here 6 years and we have had all wonderful presidents and just the right person in the right place at the right time with a certain skill set. And Tom, you have been extraordinary, and we are where we are very much due to his leadership, and I just felt like that needed to be said, so thank you. And with that, I'd like to announce that both of our votes were overwhelmingly positive, close to unanimous, so thank you. We have a brand new board, we have a new endowment chair, we have a new nominating chair, and we have a budget. So it's been an extraordinary year, an extraordinary meeting, and thank you all for coming. Do I have a motion to adjourn? A second? Show of hands? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you. I just announced the vote. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I said yes, we had 2 overwhelmingly positive votes, so thank you. All right, I certainly can. For the board, we had 62 yes, 2 no, and for the budget, we had 57 yes, 1 no. And some people didn't vote for both, so, okay?
Thank you, everyone.
Question, I know, we're like, everything went according to our plan.
See you next Sunday.
Yeah, it didn't happen 2-3 weeks prior to this. I'm sorry.